Hey there, and welcome to episode 2 of Puckin Dirty. I'm David. I have a motley crew here of my friends now. I have my producer, Ryan, of course, as always.
What up?
My friend, Eric Dunkel, and my other friend, Chris Schwanke. How you guys
Oh,
doing? I'm glad to have you guys on the show here. Talk some puck. How was your guys' weekend? How was Halloween? I saw one of you, at least. Maybe. I don't know. It's a blur.
Playing was good. Had a nice big party. Blew up the projector screen. Watched some hockey games. Watched Michigan State versus Michigan.
Football.
Good weekend.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I alluded to it earlier. I had some of our buddies over Schwank.
hmm
Oh
Yep.
man, blur of a night,
was
honestly.
It was a good time.
Good night, good time.
Me and Chelsea went to two different parties, and we're vampires, so I had these vampire fangs in, and she bought them, and they just didn't work. So like literally, anytime I went to go drink a beer, one would just fall out, and she'd have to try to re-glue it back in. And I just said, I'm just not doing this anymore. If it's gonna impede me drinking, I'm just not gonna be a vampire anymore. So that's how that night went.
Well, that's
Yeah.
pretty fun though.
I wore a hockey jersey for the second year in a row.
Wow, very creative. I went as a
I
hippie.
wore one too. I went
you
as
did,
this
Schwank.
guy right here as Yarmer Yager. I had the
Yeah.
I went and I got a wig, and I had a similar problem to Ryan in that it kept getting in the way. I haven't had long hair since I was in the ninth grade, so I forgot how annoying it was.
Well, you almost won the costume contest. We had a
Almost.
costume contest.
You know,
Honestly,
I
Schwank
was
got
honest.
a lot of votes. I was surprised.
I
Who
was
won?
honest and did not vote for myself. I voted for the guy who won. If I had been a jerk, we would have.
Oh, that's fair. Dan won as undercover Superman. He was Clark Kent.
Using the same T-shirt he's been wearing for like 15 years.
Yeah, for as long as I've known him. Yeah.
If I was there, I would have gave it to him just solely because he hasn't shaved his beard off in over a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like he did for that costume. I'd vote for him for that, just for that alone.
That's fair. That's dedication. I was surprised to see both him and Toby without a beard. I was like, what are you guys doing? What, you guys call each other? They're like, no. Of course not. But to get things rolling here, I wanted to talk to you guys about last night's games. First, and the most interesting one, I think, was the Red Wings versus Buffalo. Dunkel, I know you followed both these teams a little more closely. Buffalo won 8-3. Nedeljkovic was in net. Honestly, he looked kind of bad. Comrie was in net for the Sabres. Tage Thompson with 6 points, 3 goals. I mean, is this guy legit? 12 points in 9 games. I mean,
Thompson has been up and coming for a couple of years. I think he's a stud personally, and he's massive. So
yeah, he is a big dude.
Plus, I'm really liking the latest group of prospects coming in who are just massive, and they can move too. They're not just your stereotypical power forward that's just standing around waiting for the puck, bodying people. They can move.
That's scary. That's a scary team right there. Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, with Buffalo actually signing some big pieces, when are they actually going to open up their playoff window? Because as of right now, I think they're in one of the top 5 teams in the standings. So I actually don't have that pulled up, but they've been climbing my power rankings. So I
really like looking at strength of schedule rankings.
Oh, that's a good call.
Buffalo's had an average start to the season. They've played some good teams. They've played some dog water teams.
Happens.
I think they're going to be. I think they're in a very similar situation to the Red Wings, in that they're sort of right on that fringe. Maybe another year or two. Need to develop a couple more guys. Get a little bit more deep on defense. Both of those are true for both teams, in my opinion. They both just need that depth, need that defensive depth, need a little bit more experience.
Goalies are also kind of a question, at least for Buffalo. Comrie is never really been a starter anywhere, and I think Craig Anderson's 40 years old. Like
Buffalo really needs Luke Conan to step up. I think he probably needs another year or two, but Wings got some good guys. I mean, Nedeljkovic and Husso are both good young guys. They got them both signed, I think, for another 3 years, I want to say. Pretty good tandem to lock up for that match. And they got them both locked in for, I think, under $8 million.
probably.
So you can't beat that. And then they also got the young guy, Casa, down in Grand Rapids. He's been having a tough start in the minors, though. He's still really young, though. I think he's like 21. He's got a lot of time.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've been rebuilding forever. I hope they can actually just field a team, But yeah, just 8-3 that game was. I mean, we can talk a little bit more in the power rankings about some of these other teams as well. But Washington played Carolina. Carolina won 3-2 in the shootout. Ovi scores his 785th goal. So
What's that put on the ranking?
He's number 3 right now, but I think if I read the stat right, that's the most scored with one franchise ever, or at least maybe one behind Gordie Howe. So, or something like that. It was something crazy. I don't even know if the stat was true, but I was like, holy shit, this guy scores a lot of goals. He's almost at 800 already.
I mean, the only people ahead of him is it Gretzky and Howe?
I think it is. I know it is. No, it might be Lemieux, actually.
No, he's ahead of Lemieux.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's got like 750 or something like that.
Yeah,
see, I looked this up and I didn't write it down. That's how big of a bum I am.
Yeah, it's Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe.
Lemieux's got 690. It's Gordie Howe and Wayne. He's gonna probably beat Gordie this season, which is pretty.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think that the Capitals are a great team this year, but once again, I'll save some of this talk for the power rankings. But I mean, I would love to see him break records. I think that's just cool. Hockey records being broken is a good thing for the sport. I don't like the
guy, but I respect the hell out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a Penn's rival forever. It's at this point hard to hate him because I don't think he ever did anything extremely dirty, but definitely like to hate him as well. Moving on to the last game of last night, it was the Kings versus the Blues. Kings win 5-1. Gabriel Velarde I don't know if he's a rookie, but he's a young guy.
Not a rookie, but he's a younger guy. He's looking good.
Yeah, he has, I think, maybe 6 goals, 6 assists. I have him on my fantasy team. Maybe it's 4 goals, 6 assists in like 10 games. And he's playing well. Kings kind of inconsistent though. They're 5-5. The Blues, I mean, ever since they had that one really good defensive game against the Oilers, which they like completely shut down like their team, their offense, they've kind of sucked and they've lost 4 games in a row. So maybe they look to change up a little bit. I don't know, but definitely something weird over there.
What do you mean weird over there? Weird over here too.
I mean, yeah, Penn's. I was gonna leave it for the power rankings, which honestly we can kind of just shift over to that now. I just wanted to recap those games, but the power rankings, I don't know if you guys are operating off the same list I have, but my list is like a tiered list with like the closest to like the word being like the best in that division, I guess, if that makes sense. So if we want to just go off, I guess we can all, just maybe list off some of our best teams, elite teams, top teams. Chris Schwanke, Mr. Schwanke, you got any teams you want to list off? You got anything?
I'm looking at your list here and category.
I think you're cutting out there a little bit.
Yeah, can we turn your volume up a little bit?
Yeah, we can react off my list if you guys want. I can even start listing it if that's all right. I have in the elite right now Boston Bruins, Colorado Avalanche, Vegas Golden Knights, Edmonton Oilers, and the New York Rangers. It just so happened that these teams all seem to be from a different division, but it kind of just worked out. I mean, I feel like those are some of the best teams. Are playing the best right now. Hardest teams to beat, right there.
That's a good list. I think Calgary needs to be up there. They're 5-2 right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
5-2. They've played Colorado, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Edmonton, Vegas, Edmonton twice, and Buffalo. They've had a hell of a schedule, and they've beaten every single one of those teams except for Buffalo.
Wow. Yeah.
And losing Buffalo, that you just chalk that up to a bad night.
Yeah, they really did reset the roster well. I mean, I'm surprised. I honestly expected this team to suck this year, but what do I know about hockey? I guess I definitely I agree. They could probably even replace Edmonton, even because I don't believe
probably had the toughest schedule in the league this year. I mean, so far anyway.
And I just don't believe in Edmonton's defense or goalies at all still, and I believe more in Calgary's.
If we're touching on that elite bracket again,
yeah, go for it.
Boston has had one of the weakest schedules in the league.
That's true.
They are 8-1, and they've played teams like Arizona, Ottawa, Anaheim, Detroit, Columbus.
Jackets, yeah.
The only two teams they've really been tested against is Minnesota and Florida. I believe I want to say they beat Florida.
They did beat Florida. They also beat the Stars, who I'd shout out as a better performing team as of the start.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't really think they've been tested yet. I still think at the end of the year they're a playoff team, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to be top of the seeding by end of the year.
Schwanke, if your audio is working, you want to hop in here?
Yeah, for sure.
You pro Boston?
Is it working now? It's good.
You sound a lot better.
Cool. Thank you very. All right, good. All right, so I'm looking here at the list, and thank you. I find it interesting, or at least a surprise so far this season, that we got Toronto on the fringe category here. I actually didn't know until today. I was looking at it because I haven't been too up on the NHL because I didn't know I was going to be on podcast a little bit ago, but the Maple Leafs being in the fringe category is interesting because I heard that it's not going well in Toronto right now, and I don't know how much of that is just classic Toronto media. It's like, oh my God, they're not perfect, so we're going to just cause a huge hoopla over what's going on here. But I'm gonna look up.
It's a little bit of both.
Again.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. I mean, some of their top guys aren't scoring nearly as much. Like Austin Matthews, he scored 60-some goals last year. He has 3 through 10 games. I feel like some of the panic is due because you keep paying for a top team and you're not getting it. Something's gonna have to budge. You probably should have pulled the trigger after last year's fiasco.
Well, the problem is they're so good on paper, right? I mean, you look at the roster, and it's a really good-looking roster.
It is.
Their problem right now, they're not scoring. The bigger gap in their system right now, I believe, is defense. Defense is just not as elite as their offense, which is, a big problem. I mean, they can score 5 goals, but if the other team scores 6, it's no good. Yeah, and they're not even scoring to begin with right now, so
it definitely sucks. Matt Murray got hurt really, I think, in their first game. I mean, on paper he's probably better than that Eric Kallgren guy. I think he's Eric Kallgren. I mean, who knows? Murray's been kind of bad since he's left the Penguins, but who knows? I mean, this Kallgren guy, I think, is kind of garbage for what it's worth. I've seen him in fantasy last year. Had him a few times. He got burned. I was like, yeah, this guy is.
How's Samsonov doing?
He's good. He's 4 wins, 2 losses, 9.2 save percentage. What more could you ask? But he's definitely better than Kallgren, and not so sure about Murray.
When it comes to defense in Toronto, I was hearing a rumor earlier today that Barry Trotz would want to be the coach in Toronto. He said it would be interesting or something along those lines to coach an original six team, and that just kind of started the rumor mill going about him being the coach there. Do you think that if he was, that would almost inherently help out their defensive problems? Because look at what he did for Washington years ago, a team that was this big offensive juggernaut, but then every year they get to the playoffs and they get eliminated, whether it's by the Penguins or somebody else. And a lot of it came down to defense. And then he got them to play a system that got them to their first Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering how much of an impact that would make in Toronto.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, they're definitely going to be looking for a shakeup in coaching pretty soon. I don't think they're going to rely on their current guy much longer.
I think his name's Sheldon Keefe. So Sheldon Keefe, I think that's his name. Him and their GM, I can't remember his name now. I'm bad with names, all right. But they're like buddies going back to like high school days, like coaching together or something like that. So I'm not surprised he hasn't been canned. Oh my god, I can see this guy's face. I can't remember his name. The GM of Toronto, but like I feel like at this point, like when's enough's enough? Like your team seems
Dubas.
like it seems Dubas. Yes, Kyle Dubas. It seems like maybe there's a cancer in the locker room. I don't know. Like it just doesn't seem like this team plays like playoff style hockey that wins. I mean, I like their guys. I think it's the sad part. I like Marner and Matthews. John Tavares, I don't mind him, but I think he's kind of overpaid at this point. But
I think Chris does have a good point. I think a shift in coaching style would benefit them greatly. They got to find their defense. They got to find out how they can buff their defense without. I mean, like I said, on paper they got a really solid team. They got big names. The defense is starting to get a little older, but you got to think there's more left in the tank in that defense. There's got to be a way for them to turn that defense into something solid and make a run with it. Because, like I said, they got the offense. It's not scoring right now, but it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, that's also fair. I was going to say, I wonder how long their offense can be this snake bitten. No one on their team, I'm looking, has above 5 goals through 10 games. I mean, 2 people, Tavares and Nylander, are a point per game. You figure there's some puck luck there, but defense probably needs to be changed or something needs to be addressed there. That's really all I got for Toronto. I mean, I wish them better. I can't put them any higher than fringe playoff team right now because I just don't really see them as a playoff team. They're not playing to that standard.
That's what power rankings are, right? They change every week.
They're supposed to be fluctuating, exactly. That was the fringe category. I guess we can just, stick with this fringe category. Why not? I also have, the Sabres in here, Flyers, Devils. There's a lot of Metro teams in here. There's also the Blues, the Capitals, the Wild, the Red Wings. I mean, you guys think anything is extreme there? You think warranted? Yeah.
I hate to be that guy, and I really don't want to be that guy, but Philly is surprising.
Yeah, I know.
They they have no expectations coming into the season. I was looking at the teams they've played. They've had a really tough schedule. They've played Tampa. They've played Carolina. They've played Florida. They beat Tampa, beat Carolina, beat Florida, and lost to Florida in a second game. They got Rangers and Toronto upcoming. If they can get past those two and come away with at least a win out of that, that's something. Because like I said, this is not a team that had any expectations coming in, like bottom of the barrel.
And maybe that's what they needed, that and Torts to really just slap them into shape, And
on top of that, they're missing Couturier. They're missing Couturier.
And Kevin Hayes, who I picked up on the waiver wire in our league, no big deal, is at a point per game. And I was like, holy shit, this dude is going off for these boys. And I mean, he was supposed to be a number 1 center when they got him, 2 years ago. He just played ass last year. But that whole team was ass last year.
He's a number 2 center at his best. I definitely think his contract is an overpay, but Philly and overpays they go hand in hand, right? Name a better duo.
You can name like 4 players on that team that are definitely overpaid. And another player that's missing from them that's interesting is just Ryan Ellis. I don't know if he's like played more than like 30 games as a Flyer.
He's been riddled with injuries. I think he's supposed to be out all year too, isn't he, or something like that?
Something crazy. It's definitely interesting. No one expected this from them, and maybe underestimating them it helped them. We'll see how long they can go. I think I said this last time we were on pod. I just don't know if they can keep it together for 82 games. Like how we were saying, like Kevin Hayes is at a point per game. I don't really know if he's that kind of player, but like he's at it now. Well, I guess we'll see long term.
Well, he's going to get a ton of ice time in Philly, so anything can happen.
Especially with Giroux and Couture, Giroux being gone.
Ellis is out for the year. It's apparently a career-threatening injury. He's had multiple injuries to his pelvic region.
That's kind of sad.
Yep, good chance he retires.
Well,
I know injuries are bad, but that's kind of hot. Pelvic region.
Death by snooze.
Sexual, the pelvic region. Anyway. Great
Who you got in the bottom of the barrel? Who's in the Bedard hunt?
Yeah, the Bedard hunt. I like that, right? I got Chicago, Coyotes, and Ducks. Like, Ducks have looked awful again. Like, I feel like this is a yearly thing. They just come out super flat. I think John Gibson needs to be traded, dude. Like, get our boy out of there. He's a Pittsburgh.
Bring him home.
Out of there. Yeah.
Bring him home.
That would be a sick. I would admit that'd be sick to have him, but expensive.
It'll be interesting to see what Anaheim does this offseason. They're either gonna, they're either gonna sell all their vets come the trade deadline, or they're gonna try and go in on something. I don't know. They've had a really hard schedule. They're another team I noticed on the schedule rankings. They've had a really tough start to the season.
Lack of scoring. I mean, they have 20 goals total. Like that. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, they're in bad water. It's just a matter of whether or not they can start beating some mediocre teams. Like I said, they've had a tough start to the schedule. I think they gotta play a couple weaker teams, get their confidence up. I don't think they're a bottom of the barrel team. They're definitely. I think there's a good chance they miss the playoffs.
They're without a doubt. I mean,
but
you get put in a big enough hole at the start of the season too. Like, it's hard to dig out if teams are.
Oh, it's definitely hard to dig out, but it can happen.
It can. I don't think this roster can do it. Like, I don't think they're that talented. You just look down the roster.
Oh, 100%. They need the young guys to really step up for that to happen, but I don't think
Derek Grant is still on their team. Like, why the hell is he still playing? He's bad. Henrique is kind of washed. Like, you don't see a player and be like, holy shit, he's good, besides John Gibson. And
yeah, I mean, you look at their lineup. Let's see here.
Klingberg, who was added this offseason, has been garbage. I mean, Troy Terry's one of their better guys. Like, really? Like, no one just,
I could see them trying to dish Silverberg come the trade deadline. They could possibly try ditching Vetrano at the deadline. Klingberg's another one at the deadline.
They just signed him, though. It's like, I think he signed a 1-year prove-it deal, though.
Which is great for great for
them. He's not been proving it, so he's gonna get yeeted.
Like I said, they definitely have assets. If they really want to go in for the rebuild and try and be a competitive team in 2 or 3 years, they could do it. It's just a matter of whether the management has the balls to say, hey, this team needs to improve and put it all into draft picks.
I do like Troy Terry and Trevor Zegras. I think they're fun players.
Zegras, Terry, their other young guy, McTavish. They got really good young players. Drysdale. It's just like I said,
they have fun guys. It's just putting it all together is hard.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that is unfortunately stuck in the void of always being either bottom of the barrel playoff team or just below a playoff team.
Yeah. Yeah, well, right now they're definitely playing for the Bedard sweepstakes, and I don't really blame them if he's as good as he's said to be. I could see them being maybe put in the bad section, but with their current record, I couldn't do that. I had to put them in the bottom of the barrel.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. Same thing with the Coyotes. I mean, they're 2-5-1. I mentioned some of my notes I sent you guys that their home opener happened. I mean, it really seemed kind of boring in their stadium. Like there's only 5,000 people or something like that. It's a college stadium. They're like playing drums and stuff for people to cheer, and like no one was cheering, and it just was kind of weird. Like it didn't feel like an NHL game, to be honest. Players look fast though, I will say.
I mean, I gotta say, like the presentation and everything looks pretty good. Looks solid. I think being in a rink that big is a bit of a gimmick.
Yeah.
It's a matter, I think there's not a bad seat in the building, which is great. However, it just isn't. It's not big enough of an atmosphere for
No.
fans to really get to it. If you're trying to grow the sport, you need more seats in that building.
And what happens if they don't sell out these 5,000 seat games? Like it just looks so bad for the league.
No. Yeah.
And like the players have to pay back the owners too. So if they're not selling tickets, it kind of affects them in the salary cap as well. So that's kind of like another angle to think of it. It's like, don't you want more money coming in, for the league?
Yeah, fortunately for them, like this first year at the very least, I think they'll sell out all their games just because it's a novelty. I think a lot of people are going to travel to see games. I think that's the main draw. Is a lot of people are going to be coming from out of town just to see a nice up close game.
Some intimate hockey with your favorite players.
But after a season, if it's true and they're going to be stuck in there for 3 years, that's going to be brutal.
I mean, it's brutal.
I'm just looking at a list here of college hockey arenas and capacity, and there are so many schools that have more, like a higher capacity than that arena does.
College hockey's big.
Yeah, and some of these guys are playing in front of bigger crowds in college than they will be in Arizona, and ticket sales are a big deal.
Yeah.
You make a lot of money off of ticket sales. So imagine if you have an NFL team playing in like a 10,000 seat soccer stadium.
Oh, like the Chargers did.
Yeah, exactly. And they actually were getting a new stadium, but is Arizona getting a new arena? They've been fighting this battle for what 10 15 years or something like that, however long the league owned the team. And it almost gets to the point where you got to wonder, like, how much longer are we going to force hockey to be in Arizona? Like, hockey can work in non-traditional markets. I think I looked a while ago, and a large proportion of Stanley Cup final teams in recent years have been from non-traditional markets. I think of Nashville right away. Tampa Bay has been a big deal in hockey for a long time already, but it's just not working in Arizona, and it hasn't for a long time. And there are other cities out there, excuse me, that I believe they could go to where they would do really well. Everybody says, well, what about, bring back the Whalers, take them to Hartford? I don't know about that, but
Quebec, that's my
exactly bet. Yeah, the Quebec Nordiques, you could bring them back. We have a team in Seattle now. I was always somebody who said, well, move the Coyotes to Seattle. Well, we put an expansion team there instead. So
I could see
Houston and Kansas City.
I was going to say Texas. I mean, let's be real. I don't think they're ever going to move out of the United States. I think they're taking a huge corporation. Like I think more laws are a smile upon large corporations in the U.S. So I think Houston would be a good choice. Big city. Sport town.
Real quick, you want to put in perspective just how small Mullet Arena is. For you Wheeling Nailers fans out there, the Wheeling Nailers capacity is 5,406. Mullet Arena is 5,000.
Yeah.
An ECHL team is packing a stadium with more people than the Arizona Coyotes.
And the Coyotes tickets aren't even that expensive, right? So it's not even like they're making their.
Oh, they raise the prices because there's less seats.
Oh, okay. I think maybe it's for students then, like
Yeah, there
ASU
was
students,
student
that it's like
discounts.
really cheap. It's like
Like
$25 or something.
$25.
There's like a
Yeah.
student section, which you can build up an atmosphere. You know, college kids, you got $25 on a Friday night. What are they gonna do before they go out partying? Oh, let's get trash and watch a hockey game, man. But what's that gonna do for you?
How many people in Arizona even consider that, though? You know, and
Yeah.
how do you get to the stadium? I mean, I guess it's on. Is it on campus? Like I don't really know where it is.
I think it is. It's in Tempe, Arizona. Which, let me look.
Cool place. I mean, Arizona's cool. I would love to see hockey succeed there, just because like I've visited Arizona in my life and it is an awesome place. Love to go back, but like it doesn't have the draw that like Vegas does, where it's like, you know, they're playing in the desert, and Vegas is there. You know, it's like, oh, we'll go to Tempe. I guess if it's more like suburbia or something. I don't know. Maybe there's money there, but it just doesn't seem like the desert's accepting the Coyotes here. It just seems like a failure, honestly.
I mean, so the thing is, like, they've proven that hockey can work there. It's just it's just not on the scale that the NHL is accustomed to. I think they could, you know, put another AHL team in Arizona, and that would be fine. You know, I just I know a lot of people in Arizona are really mad that people constantly want their franchise moved. Who wouldn't? I mean, we're Pens fans, dealt with that. But you know, Arizona's had 25 years, something like that, and they haven't succeeded.
I think there's a lot of reasons. I also heard that like I think it's in Glendale versus like Scottsdale or something, and to get there you have to drive like 45 minutes or something from one of the cities to the other. It's just like, imagine you're the Pittsburgh Penguins, but you're in Cranberry, you know, like 45 minutes north. It's like, or whatever, 30 minutes. You have to drive like that distance. It's like it didn't work. Like it just.
That kills teams all the time.
I mean, look at the Senators. The same thing happened with the Senators, and they have and they're a Canadian market, so it's like you can't just say Canadian market will fix it. I mean, yeah, diehard Canadian market might, but I don't think that's in the realm of, you know, possibility with the NHL.
Yeah, no,
that's why they are in the Bedard sweepstakes. They're all around awful franchise. The NHL is gonna rig it so they get Connor Bedard. You heard it here.
I'll tell you that is like the one thing that might save them, is getting a franchise player like that. It'll be telling if they get Bedard. They're, you know, it's gonna be pretty telling. You know, like a lot of people are already calling out the Penguins because of Crosby and all that stuff, but like, you know, this will be really damning. You know, Arizona gets a franchise player.
Though. The Pens definitely tanked that season, and there's no way you can like dispute that. I mean, why wouldn't you? Like, seriously though. Let's scrape our way up from, you know, the bottom, and we can just go to the bad teams now that I have listed here. I have San Jose. I have the Canadiens. Vancouver Canucks, Predators. Surprisingly, I thought they were going to be good. The Senators and the Jackets here. I know some of these teams probably could belong in the higher up, even up to playoffs. Like, honestly, Vancouver, Preds, and Senators. But right now, they're all playing bad. Like, I'm super surprised the Predators are playing so bad. I kind of was high on them this year. Maybe that, like, European game really threw them off, and they'll rebound here.
Well, I think Nashville and Vancouver are both examples of, again, two teams that look pretty good on paper, pretty solid. But they just haven't been able to put it together. We'll see as the year goes on. I mean, like, I'd say another dozen games, you'll get a feel for whether or not they can even try for a playoff spot. But I think that's all going to come with time. You know, they have a chance of being a fringe playoff team, I think, or a low playoff team, low seed playoff team. But
The Canucks
They
did
really
kind
got to
of
do a
kick the
big
Pens
turnaround.
butt. They kicked the Pens butt the other day, and they looked good doing it. I mean, maybe if they get the monkey off the back, so to speak, they can just get it together. I kind of thought their defense is suspect. Like, if you look at it, it's like no one really that can shut down defense kind of players. It's kind of offensive, like Ekman Larson. Who else am I thinking of? Just like, I mean, know the type though. The offensive
they're
defenseman players.
yeah, they got.
I know it's like just trying to think
They
of
still
it.
have Tyler Myers. Do they still have Tyler Myers? She's somewhere else.
I think he's somewhere else actually. I know they just added Ethan Bear. I did have a note on that earlier.
Obviously you got Quentin Hughes, but he's
he's hurt. Luke Shen, Ekman Larson, Kyle Burrows. I mean,
yeah, Myers is still in Vancouver.
Is he? Jam. He's been there for
but
a while.
I gotta imagine he's got to be a bottom pairing guy. But
yeah, I don't think their defense is very good. I mean, if they added Ethan Bear, who's supposed to be more of a tough guy, shutdown guy, so
right hand too.
Yeah, so maybe that adds something. Carolina getting worse is good with me. I mean, they got some stuff back, like trade wise, but he's a solid player. I mean, I'd rather him not in our division.
Yeah, I'm looking at their lineup right now. It looks like it's all a depth issue.
Yeah, I mean, it really is.
Their depth
Especially a lot of teams are that way. I mean, I've watched not very much of the Canucks. I've watched them play the Pens, and I was like, well, this team looks good now. Like, what the hell is going on? So, if they could play that well the entire season, like they played that way under Boudreau, right? To end the season last year, I mean, they can put it together. They could be a playoff team. I don't think they'll ever be elite. I don't even playoff might be pushing it, but
I think they could do it if they get some guys healthy. I mean, they got Besser and Hughes both on right now, which is a huge hit.
Yeah, Hughes especially, I'd say he's fun to watch.
And if there's anything we know about GM JR being Pens fans, is that he's going to make moves at some point.
He's aggressive.
He's going to make moves. So we have to keep that. Season's young, so he's gonna make a move for sure. Let me look up what he said, because he's one of those GMs that loves to talk through the media.
Yeah, he did. He did in the Pens.
I'm interested to see what happens. I mean, GMJR, I liked him in his time with the Penguins. He made some good acquisitions, but he's the type of GM you really want on a team that is on the cusp of winning, right?
Yeah.
He's the type of guy who, if you got a team who's just right there, real close, he can make a couple good moves, and they're usually risky moves, but he can make a couple good moves that'll get you those good depth pieces that you need. And then, unfortunately, with the Penguins, we won our 2 cups, and he didn't know what to do.
Yeah, he traded for Ryan Reeves that one.
He started just making a ton of deals that just didn't make any sense.
He was playing NHL. He's like,
and unfortunately, that's what a lot of Carolina fans say too. He won that cup down in Carolina with a team that was real close, and they won the cup, and he didn't know what to do. He just started making deals for the sake of making deals, and they bit him in the ass.
Yeah. I mean, the one trade I definitely remember is the Ryan Reeves trade, where I think we might have traded like a first or a third for him. And I was just like, what the fuck?
We just traded a first for him.
Doing?
He was traumatized by that playoff series where
Rangers?
No, it was,
I remember we got bullied. We got up.
It was against God, why can't I remember? Every series really that the Penguins just got bullied, and the Penguins are the type of team that they'll play through it. But I think GM JR got a little freaked out by it, for lack of a better term. But as far as comments he made recently through the media about the Canucks, he said about the defense, we tried to address it in the summertime, and in fairness, our defense, we've had injuries there. We haven't played with our full defense. We know we have to improve it. But he also said it's not just the guys that play defense, it's a team defense. Those guys aren't getting enough support. He goes on to say, we've got contracts that maybe we like to move that we can't move. Your hands kind of get tied there a little bit, but we're well aware that's an area we need to improve. And later on, he says that people have to realize how long rebuilds are. So
So,
I,
so let's
I
sign JT Miller to $9 million.
Yeah, I mean those moves are questionable. I've
Mhm.
heard JT Miller's name in being like questioned by his like effort level before. So I mean, how you're saying he speaks through the media, probably speaking to the guys that he just signed to big contracts. That makes sense. And as for people he couldn't move, honestly, I feel like that could be Ekman Larson. Like Ekman Larson has sucked for like ever since he left Arizona. He would put up points, but his like plus minus was like -33. He just does not look good in this system.
He shows flashes of his old self, but yeah, he's clearly slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean he's only 31, so it's like it's kind of surprising that you'd slow down so much, especially he was like 29 when he was on the team, starting to get on the team.
It also hurts to have another offensive defenseman like that. You know,
An
like
even better
Ekman
one.
Larson, he's
Yeah.
made a career off producing some offense. You got Quinn Hughes, who's the bulk of your offense, and then they got a couple other defensemen that are also offensive minded. Having that many offensive minded defensemen, it can be a problem.
Bad
You need
scheme fit then.
Ekman Larson. I think he'll thrive. He would thrive in a place where there aren't as many, offensive defensemen in the system. I can't really think of a team right off the top of my head, but there are plenty of teams out there who need an offensive defenseman.
I mean, Winnipeg has some suspect defense. I mean, I don't know if they trade, but I don't want to get too much into trade rumors because that's all like who the fuck really knows. The GMs know, not us. But yeah, I could see it, Dunkel. Like I think it's a bad scheme fit. Sometimes you get a good player in a bad space. Like look at Phil Kessel at Toronto. Like comes the Pens, puts up point per game pace almost for 3 years, goes off to Arizona, less than like 50 points a season or 60 points a season. It's like
James Neal.
scheme. Yeah, I mean the scheme of whatever
Chris
teams it
Kunitz.
works out. I mean it's people might
Pascal
not. It might not
Dupuis.
be as obvious. Dupuis too. I mean Kunitz, like it's not as obvious in hockey, I don't think, especially for casual fans, but the scheme and like the style of play, like up tempo, like the Penguins were trying
Marian
to like
Hossa.
grudge the neutral zone. Yeah, fuck Hossa. Yeah, I mean it's definitely a bad fit. Also, Quinn Hughes is pretty awesome. I didn't know he was born in Orlando. I just pulled it up. I'm like, oh, weird.
See, hockey can thrive in a warm market, just not in the desert.
Definitely does. It does in Florida for sure.
Although, come to think of it, Austin Matthews is from Arizona,
Arizona.
so yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Man, imagine if he
But
was
he
on the
sucks
Coyotes.
this year. So obviously the Coyotes suck now.
Looking at the fringe teams here, just to go back to Buffalo and
Yeah,
Detroit, like
keep it
we
rolling.
mentioned earlier, the thing that came to mind for me about them was just I always like to look at the average age on a team because you need a lot of maturity in the NHL to really go far. Yeah, you can have your young, scrappy teams. Like I remember back in like '06, the Penguins just made it back into the playoffs after years of being terrible. They had a great record in the regular season. I was surprised to see how many points they had that season when it ended, and then they just got worked by the Ottawa Senators, who were like a veteran team that had been there a long time and went on to make the Stanley Cup final. And the Penguins learned from that. And I think the Sabres and the Red Wings, both the Sabres, they're the youngest team in the league, average age 25.36. The Red Wings, fourth youngest at 26 years even. Yeah, they got these good young players, but they're going to have to be tested first, I think, before.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So it might be, I mean, when we say fringe, maybe they'll squeak in with a lower playoff spot,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
they'll more than likely lose in a painful way. But
Well, I'm glad you brought up them like sneaking in because that is
Builds
what I meant
character.
with like
exactly,
their playoff window and like the recap. We kind of got a little off the rails there, but like is their playoff window open if they're a good young team? I mean, like, why not add to a team? Yeah, like I just think like you think of those Penguins, they did add to those teams, and like they added those veteran guys who made a difference eventually. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with adding, maybe a deadline or like a, deadline player, like a guy you get during the trade deadline and playing with, signing him, playing a couple years. You build chemistry for sure. You need that to win.
It works to an extent, right? So like you have the extreme on the other hand, like Ken Holland with the Red Wings, right? So he was the GM for the Wings for I don't know 20
A long
years
time
or something
until
like
Yzerman kicked his ass out.
that.
Get on my seat.
The beginning of his career, in the 90s and the 2000s especially, the game wasn't as fast as it is now. You could get a slower veteran player, and he was going to be an impact player. He was going to get you to the playoffs, and you were going to do well. He did that a lot with the Wings. He made a career of it, getting a lot of great veteran guys and pushing those teams into the playoffs. However, it ended up biting them in the ass. They had tons by the time he left Detroit. They had tons of just long, ridiculous contracts for veterans that couldn't even skate anymore. And that's the other thing that happens. Like he went out and got Franz Nielsen. Oh well, Franz Nielsen. Let's see, he's 33. Let's sign him to a 5-year deal at $5 million. Terrible. That's a terrible deal.
And to be fair, for some of his career, there would have been no salary cap in the NHL until 2006. So I know they were winning early 2000s, right? So they were probably doing adding some vets then too.
I mean, you got what they had Abdelkader. They signed Abdelkader like $5.5 million.
Yeah, he was not good.
They had De Kaiser for like $4 or $5 million. Just a lot of older guys to long, big money contracts. And like I said, it's just it got to the point where the Wings were averaging like 30 years of age for their roster, and they just couldn't compete anymore. The teams were still slow, and unfortunately, the game got faster. The game got a lot faster. Can't have a team that slow and that old anymore.
Yeah, I mean, hey, at least they're young now, right? I'm sure the Pens are one of the older teams in the league.
They are.
Oldest.
Actually, I closed that list, but if I can bring it up here quickly, I believe they were the second oldest behind, I think, Capitals now. Yeah. I think it was the
Capitals
Capitals.
are higher than them now.
Caps have like TJ Oshie, Ovi, Kuznetsov, these older guys. I mean, they're in the fringe, so I mean, we can discuss them a little bit. They haven't looked amazing. I mean, just as good as the start as the Penguins. I mean, they played one more game. Ovi still looks all right. They are old. I mean, definitely is going to start catching up. I kind of think this is where they stay in this division, like middle of the pack. I don't really think they're that much better than maybe sneaking in the playoffs. I think they're just so old. I don't think they have enough firepower anymore. Really, you look at their roster; it's not very deep.
Who are we talking about? Washington
Capitals, yeah.
Yeah, Washington's. I think they're pretty much done. It's losing Backstrom is huge, big blow. They really haven't had any young guys really step up and fill in those slots like the Penguins have been fortunate enough to have. We've had a lot of luck with players like Connor Sheary, Brian Rust, Jake Gensel stepping up, filling those holes.
Connor Sheary, who now plays for them too. That's shocking to me that Sheary still plays in the league. Like, I just felt like he was always so undersized, and I thought he only played well because he was with Sid, to be honest. But
I mean, he was a huge part of the Stanley Cup teams. It's
yeah.
Like
I mean, he had that one winner, right? I can't remember. I think it was against the Capitals.
It was Sheary and Rust. They were coming in as the young guys who nobody knew, and they filled in slots, and they potted some pucks in the net, played big games, played big minutes. Washington just hasn't had that.
Not anymore. I mean, I'm looking down the roster, like there's no one that pops out. You got Ovi, Oshie, Mantha hasn't worked out at all. He's not been healthy. I definitely said this before on the pod as well. It's like you have to be available to be good in the NHL, and if you're not available to your team, you're not that as good. And he has not been available. I think maybe less than like 70% of the games for the last 3 years, probably even less than that. Like, not great. For sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at their roster too, and nobody really pops out to me except maybe Darcy Kemper.
Oh yeah, they did
Stanley
add
Cup
him.
winning goaltender, but he did.
I mean, they
Matt
almost,
Murray was a Stanley Cup winning goaltender and went to a good team, and then
Goaltenders
Matt Murray was also playing
win
better.
championships. I mean, they do. You get a hot goalie, they win you a championship. But that's it's all puck luck with goalies. You never know what type of goalie you're gonna get.
You got to put
Matt
a good
Murray
team in front of them.
Matt Murray played better than Darcy Kemper did during that Stanley Cup run too. Darcy Kemper was getting I think he didn't even play every single game in the Cup final. So I'm pretty sure Pavel Francois at least played one. So it's like, yeah, like I saw him signing him as like a non-factor. Like, okay, you just replace your average Samsonov with Kemper, like another average goalie, like kind of like just nothing that pops out. I mean, nothing great. I don't even know the young guys. Like I see this guy, his name's like Alakeski Protis.
Yeah.
6'6" from Belarus. Like, never heard of him.
They got Backstrom out, they got Wilson out, they got Oshie out, they got Carlson out.
They're not looking great, and I just don't think it gets much better for them here. Like soon enough, they're gonna have to start playing the real bloodbath like Metro games, and if these young teams like the Sabres, Senators, Red Wings are coming up, someone's got to start coming down. And I mean, Capitals are my obvious choice. I think they're just not studded as they once were. Do you guys want to discuss any more of these fringe teams? I figure we'll do what other ones, talk about the playoff teams, and we'll skip the Pens. We'll talk about them like exclusively after. That sounds good to you guys.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
You got any more fringe teams you want to discuss? I mean, I do have the Blues in there and the Wild. I mean, I feel like they're not moving the needle, just kind of floating there.
They'll get in. I'm not worried about them making the playoffs. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, like on paper, I just don't think the West is as good, and I think they're probably, even if they're a fringe team in the West, they could be a playoff team. So, let's go moving on up to the playoff line here. I got the Pens, I got Calgary, I got the Hurricanes, I got the Jets, I got the Kings, which kind of might be a little stretch. I got Panthers, Stars, and Islanders, who also might be seen as a little of a stretch. Mostly, I mean, I've seen these teams play. I think Florida could be in the elite, but they're kind of playing down. Same thing with the Pens. Like, they just kind of look slow these last few games. Same thing with the Hurricanes. Even like Calgary, like these teams I expect to be shifting, into elite, out of elite, this entire season. I do think
the loss of Gensel and Zucker was the real big blow to the Pens, right? I mean, losing those two, they were missing them for Gensel. I think all 3 of those losses.
3 of them, yeah. He played. He scored 1 goal in. I think
Zucker, I think for 2 of them.
Yeah, and like I mentioned this last pod, Bluger, Eddie Bluger, yeah.
Bluger, yeah.
Yeah, he's been hurt and hasn't played a game, so it's like
which has been brutal. I really miss Bluger.
He's but a great depth forward, bottom 6 guy.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah, I have no issues with him. I love watching him play. He scores big goals as well. I think, like I said, the Panthers, I think they're just underperforming once again. They lost a lot of talent this offseason, and Ekblad's hurt. I mean, I hope that they can have some of these guys kind of step forward. They'll get Duclair back eventually, but
yeah, they'll definitely make another run. I'm also not worried about them whatsoever.
Yeah, I'd say so as well. All these other teams, I mean, they're just just playing well to start the season. Dallas looks good. Surprisingly, I thought they'd be worse. Jake Ottinger kind of is stealing them a lot of games. Last time I checked, he had like a 1.25 goals against. So like
Yeah, he looks
You're letting
great.
1 goal a game in, you're gonna probably win games, you know. And I'd like to also just highlight my last team before, if you guys want to just jump into the Pens, because I'd rather talk Pens. It is the Islanders. I was high on them last season, and then they had that 20-game road trip, kind of sucked. I'm kind of high on them again this year. Their stats don't really prove it yet, but they've played also some tough teams. They've played the Panthers twice, the Lightning, Devils, who are kind of surging up here, the Rangers, the Hurricanes, the Avs. Their last 3 games are against the Rangers, Hurricanes, and Avs, and they beat all of those teams. So start of something maybe. I'd like to watch them. I think they play tonight against the Blackhawks. I might throw them on with the Penguins game, have it split screen, but I'm higher on this team than I thought I would be. And
Ryan looks like he wants to talk.
go for it, Ryan. Got something.
Not about the Islanders, so you guys can go first.
Yeah, I mean I think they might surprise some people. I think they're like the Flyers with, might shock some people. And Sorokin has also been an elite goalie for like the last 3 years. I'm kind of pissed Matt's dad drafted him before me this year in our league. I was like, you motherfucker. That's my goalie.
Yeah,
But real quick,
you know,
unless
no, go
someone
ahead.
wants to talk about the Islanders, you got to talk about the Islanders. You got.
No, let's talk Pens
Well, before
Yeah.
the Pens,
before the
You
Pens.
want to talk?
I was looking at your ranks here, your power rankings, and you forgot a team in the elite category.
I know.
Oh my
The Seattle
god.
Kraken, right?
Yeah. I was looking at it. I was like, "There's
Crackheads.
only 31 teams here. Where's my crackheads?
Oh,
So,
yeah, I
I'm
didn't
glad
even
you
notice.
mentioned
Where's my
it.
crackheads?"
The
My-
fact that we
It's the
didn't
elite.
notice Seattle was on that list, I think, says
I
what you
have
need
them-
to know
Watch
about
it.
Seattle.
Watch it. I'm a big crackhead. You go
That's-
watch.
I'm glad
I
you
forgot
mentioned
that you're
it.
an honorary crackhead. Right?
Mhm.
A
I'm
big
glad you
time
mentioned it.
crackhead.
How do you
Uh,
feel about the mascot?
Oh, Bowie? He's a beast.
He's a crackhead.
He's a
He
beast.
is a
He's
crackhead.
Seattle
Kraken who
crackhead.
lives under a bridge, literally.
Mhm.
He's based off a statue underneath
Oh
a
my
bridge in
God.
Seattle, where most crackheads belong. So he's perfect.
Yeah. Wow. That's super meta of them, honestly. I'm glad
but-
you mentioned it, though, because I had it written on my list. I'm like, this list had no Seattle, and I still didn't say it. So I'm glad you mentioned it. I would have put them in the fringe. I think they're a good team, young team as well. I mean, once again, that's one of the teams we talk a lot about. I do like them. I think they're fringe right now. I think they could be a sneaky playoff team. They're still really, really young. I mean,
They started off way better than they have been like this last week or so, but I think the way that they're built right now, they're not going to make any runs or anything like that. But like you said, their young guys are sneaky good. They have a lot of weird like role playing veterans on their team.
mhm.
Like I mentioned last week, they picked up Schultz in the offseason, who's not been playing bad really. So they're not going to be a team this year, but like you said, they might be like a sneaky like end of the season when we're looking at who's going to get that last wild card spot in the West. It's kind of shitty. Like they
Yeah.
could be a team that might be up and around there. Will they get it? Probably not. Will they be like the first, second team out? They might be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could swing either way with so many young guys. I like them. I really want them to succeed. I think it's a cool culture over there, hockey culture. So pretty interesting.
Hockey and weed. That's all Seattle need.
Yeah, and rain, and trolls under the bridge
And-
apparently.
And salmon too. Don't forget salmon and
Salmon.
Starbucks.
Mm. I don't really like salmon though, so fuck them.
Starbucks too. Can't forget that.
Mhm.
Starbucks. So you guys wanna talk Pens? I mean, I kind of want to talk more in depth about the Pens if you guys want. I have them in the playoffs. I don't think anyone would really disagree at this point.
Throw me some topics. I'll tell you what I think about the Penguins.
Okay. Here's what is update on Pens. We have a 4-game losing streak. Teddy's on LTIR. Letang apparently is a game time decision tonight because of an illness. Some things I definitely noticed. I kind of like Kasperi Kapanen. I was wondering why he's like only playing 13 minutes a night, and this is including after Jake Gensel and Carter and a bunch of guys were hurt. I feel like that's kind of awkward because I feel like he's a top 6 forward or was at least billed as that at one point, but he's playing 13 minutes.
Kapanen, I feel, has all the tool sets. He's got all the tools. He's fast. He's got hands. He can shoot. But his hockey IQ is
Oh my God.
terrible.
I'm glad you bring it up, Dunkel.
Yep.
I'm glad you bring it up. So I had a little spiel, and you basically summed it up. Like, he has grit, he has speed, but I noticed that he does not drive the net on rush attempts, and he does this thing at the half boards where he just spins and turns it over. Like,
Yeah.
And I actually noticed it in the Seattle game. It led to a turnover that a goal was scored on. I was like, holy shit, this looks like last year. Like, I love the guy. I want him to succeed, but it's so frustrating to watch, knowing how like physically gifted he is.
Just real low hockey IQ. He just
Yeah.
turns the puck over a lot.
That's hard to fix, though, too. And I think that's why he's not on the power play. Is
100%.
maybe his IQ he doesn't put it together. He's on the PK, but it's the second PK, so he probably plays like 40 to 50 seconds.
I'd love for him to put it all together. I'd love to have a Brian Rust 2.0 on our hands where he's a late bloomer and can put up a bunch of points. But I don't know. It's a big if. I just think he needs to make that extra step. He needs to work on his IQ. Just start putting pucks where they got to go. Make high percentage hockey plays. That's his biggest problem right now. Is he's just making really low percentage poor plays.
The turnovers are killer. Like, he, instead of like pressing the defense with his speed or something, he will just hang at the half boards, and it's just like, dude, like, you don't you'll create so much more space for everyone if you're going towards the net. Like, it's not hard to play off a guy that's not gonna attack you. So, yeah, I mean, he's one of my guys that I want him to do better. I wanted to watch him closer. It just, oh man, putting him under a microscope's not fair. But I really like. We traded assets to get him. I mean, you figure we want something more from him.
We drafted him.
We drafted him.
Yeah, you drafted him,
to Toronto,
trade him away,
and we
trade to get him back, and then you sign him. So it's like his
3-year
second,
deal?
technically third chance. You really want to see him improve.
It
could 3 years
it
on
could
that
be another
deal,
case of just a bad environment for him. He might go to we might send him somewhere else, or whenever his contract expires, he might go somewhere else. He might fit in great. I just don't think he works with the Penguins' run and gun type of style. The Penguins like to force a lot of plays, make a lot of quick plays into the zone, dump the puck, chase, and he doesn't seem up for it. He doesn't seem like he wants to chase those pucks, get in those corners, get into the rough areas. And unfortunately, that's how the Penguins play. They play quick. You got to make really fast decisions.
I mean,
it might just not be the place for him.
I remember when we played the Rangers in the playoffs last year. He played like out of his mind. Like, he was going so hard, but he just couldn't score. Like, Sorokin.
Snake bit.
Yeah, he just was playing better. Not Sorokin. Oh my God, Rangers goalie Shesterkin.
Yeah,
got me fucked up with these names. But yeah, he just played a better
Russians.
series than the Penguins. So it's just, I thought he deserved it, and I was hoping that momentum would carry into this season. I don't know. Maybe he's lost some trust there. Last year he played. Oh, go for it.
Well, when they re-signed him back over the summer, I was wondering, maybe secretly the plan is maybe he can be a throw-in on a trade later on to a team that might be better for him. Just not necessarily a big part of the trade, but just a throw-in. We'll give you like this guy and Kapanen.
Yeah, it's just, I think he makes a little too much for the leverage that we had. Like, he was coming off a not so great season. Yeah. He's an RFA. You don't really need to offer him. You can lowball him. I mean, that's what arbitration's for as well. So
I think you can give him to a fringe playoff team, and I think they'd go for him. Or not even a fringe playoff team. A team that is definitely going to miss the playoffs, right? And is just trying to sell off a couple assets. I think you could toss him in on something, no doubt. I mean, we got him on a contract for 3 years?
I think it's 3.5 for 3 years. I could be wrong, but it was something like that where I was like, oh man, that's
Yeah.
too much.
I mean, it's like I said, you get a team who doesn't have a whole lot of cap and they're already selling a ton of assets. You could get a team to take him. Um, Whether or not you're going to get much value out of him, that's the other
That's the
question.
issue.
You'd
Mhm.
really have to pump some other things in there. I
Selling
guarantee
low.
if the Penguins need, let's say, they're going to go after, I'd imagine, a middle six forward or a uh, middle four defenseman, right? And
Mhm.
and if we do that, you're going to have to throw in Kapanen, you're going to have to throw in a prospect, and you're going to have to throw in a pick.
Yeah, pick for sure.
Kapanen, it's a 2-year deal this year. Next year, cap hit of $3.2 million each year.
That was
It's
close,
not too
but
bad.
yeah.
For
That's
2
not
years,
as
team
bad.
take him.
Yeah.
A little too much, or not term, but value on the contract, but whatever. I mean, like I said, I want every Penguin to succeed, but he definitely seems like he might just need a new space. Maybe he doesn't gel well with Sully. I don't know. I really thought it was interesting that we went to acquire him again, and he's just really hasn't been.
I mean, Sully healthy scratched him how many times, like in the later part of last season?
Yeah, that is true.
He's
scratched.
Like I said, I mean, we went out and got him again because he got the tools, right? He has the tools. And I really think the Penguins were just banking on, him developing into the player he was meant to be, which is a really solid middle six forward. And unfortunately, he just hasn't taken that other step. I mean, I still think he's serviceable.
Definitely,
I think he has a place. I just think he's got to slow his game down. He's got to make some smarter plays. And like I said, just work on hockey IQ. I mean, besides that, I think he's got the talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, he wasn't the only player I have something on. I have on a few guys. I just wanted to make some general notes. Brock McGinn kind of seems like invisible out there for being a top 9 forward, I'd say. I think he has 0 points, maybe 1 goal. I think
he did have a goal in the
Columbus.
Columbus game.
Other than that, it's like he's not even on the score sheet. It's like it's not hard, like much to ask for like some contribution. I thought he was supposed to be this like top 9 forward that could put some goals, and I never thought he was going to give us 50 points by any means.
So who are we talking about? McGinn here?
Brock McGinn, yeah. I think he has 1 goal this entire season so far.
Well, I really like him as a fourth line player. I will say that.
You think he's fourth line? I thought he was top 9.
Well, he was, whenever he was first a prospect, there was a lot of talk of him being a good middle six forward. He's just not that type of player. I don't think. The reason the Penguins went out and got him, I felt, was that they knew that he could be serviceable in the bottom 6, and he was a good replacement for Tanev, which was, I think, the main draw of getting him.
Cheaper alternative.
He doesn't have quite the speed and just the sheer impact that Tanev had.
Yeah.
But I mean, he can hit, he can block.
I mean, so can I.
He's a career hitter. I mean, that's what he does. He hits, and he hits a lot. I mean, that's what you want in a bottom 6 forward.
That's fair.
He's not a lot of money.
Being invisible is better than being obviously
he's a
bad.
Really good fourth line player to have down there.
Being invisible is way better than being terrible. Where the point is like, why is this dude on the ice? I just would like to see something more from him. Like, if he is a hitter, why isn't he laying big hits that juice the boys up? Or, like I haven't really seen much of him at all. Schwank, did you?
Well, first I was gonna make a joke. That's kind of like me in deck hockey. My goal is to be invisible and not obviously bad.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's a good space to live in.
Yeah.
Right.
Also tonight he's projected to be on the 4th line with Josh Archibald and Ryan Poehling. Is that how you say Poehling? I thought it was Poehling, but
it might be.
That's what I thought too. But it is Poehling. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, probably fitting to be there. Who's on the third line right now?
That would be
Heinen.
Heinen, O'Connor, and Kapanen.
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Now you want to talk about somebody who was great that we brought in was Heinen. Heinen's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I've been impressed with him. He kind of signs like a prove-it deal as well for the Penguins. Where I was surprised we got him and not Erod, because Erod was like Sully's pet, and I never saw Heinen as like this praised guy, but he always did score big goals for us.
He scores big goals. He's solid all around. He's I don't know. I wouldn't call him. I mean, he sort of fills that role that Brian Rust once had on the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was the third line guy, right?
Yeah.
He's obviously Rust has ascended to the to the realm of the first line.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like he's been a great replacement for that role.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree, and I really have no complaints. Like I said, he took a kind of a good deal for the Pens. So he might be this team player that we need. I don't know, like a glue guy maybe. I'd like him. I do like him. I thought he had a hat trick the other day, but maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember. It would have been one of the first games. I don't know why that's in my head.
I don't think he had a hat trick, did he?
Maybe 2 goals. I can't remember exactly.
He did have a 2-goal game on the 22nd against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I do remember that one. So yeah, he pops off the sheet for sure. I do like him. Another guy that I wanted to call out for me. I don't know, call out's a great word for it, but just I've seen chatter about it for the last couple seasons is Brian Dumoulin. People keep saying that he's regressing, and honestly, I feel like this 10-game sample size has definitely shown it. I've seen some replays of him just looking all sorts of out of just position, just slow, relying too much on his stick instead of being a physical body. And I probably contribute it to the injuries that he's suffered the last few years. I think they've been leg injuries, and if you can't get to a spot on defense, you're not gonna be a defenseman for very long. You're gonna get beat a lot. People are quick.
Yeah. He's had 3 seasons of injuries, and it's clearly catching up with him a little bit.
I love Dumo. He's been on the team. I called him part of the core. I think maybe the one time I was talking on Ryan's podcast, Talking Dirty, by the way. I call him he's been on the Pens for so long. It's almost Orpik kind of how I view him, where it's just he's been there for a while. It's hard to see the team without him, but honestly, he needs to either be sheltered in his minutes and not play with Letang, who people consider a defensive liability. I don't really consider Letang that, but just someone that maybe just is better fit, that he doesn't have to really be the shutdown guy on the line, on the pairing.
And unfortunately, we're in a situation where he's making too much money not to pay him.
Yeah. Dumo is, you're
not
saying?
To play him.
Yeah, Dumo,
Yeah.
Dumo does make quite a bit of change. Is it $5 million?
4.1.
4.1, yeah. 4.1. He does make quite a bit, which all of our defensemen at one point were paid $4.1 million for some goddamn reason. It's Marcus Patterson's making that. He was making that. Marino. I'm these guys are being paid way too much money to be bottom forward or bottom pair defensemen. Because there's players worth playing it.
It's sort of the same boat as Pettersson, right? I didn't understand really that $4 million signing when we did it.
That was fairly recent too, right?
A couple of years ago, I think it was a $5 million, or I think it was a 5-year deal at $4 million. I want to say. We have 3 years left on that deal. He's a solid player, right? I mean, he's a solid bottom pairing defenseman at the moment. I don't think he's anything higher than that. And it's just a lot of money for that type of guy. And for some reason, I don't know why the Penguins, they're I feel like we've become known with overpaying defensemen, at least in the last 4 or 5 years. We love to pay defensemen big money, and then we end up giving them away for nothing.
At least we got Petrie.
John Marino
back.
was a big one. Like we traded John Marino straight up for Ty Smith. Marino, obviously, I don't think he was playing up to his contract either, but we traded Marino and we're like, hey, we got some cap space, and then we went and got Jeff Petrie for an additional $2.2 million.
Yeah. To be fair, I haven't been super critical of Petrie, but I did think the move was in itself questionable with how precious cap space is. Like, yeah.
And another thing nobody's really talked about. I don't believe we have Tristan Jarry locked up to an extension.
No. We don't. We mentioned that
last
pod.
He's next year.
Yeah, he's paid 3.5, and he's gonna get money. Like, he could get money from wherever he wants. It's scary to see.
I think he'll get 5.5. I hope it's not more than that, but it probably will be.
I think it probably will be as well. I think if he takes a friendly deal for the Pens, maybe we'll see. I mean, speaking of Jarry, he was one of the players to move on from Duma, but Jarry was one of the players where I was like, maybe we should be leaning on him harder this year than before, just because of that contract deal, and because I feel like DeSmith just hasn't looked great to start this year. At least let Jarry settle the Pens down before we put in the backup. DeSmith had a slow start last year, and
DeSmith just sucks.
He's
bad. He's a backup because a lot of people say nowadays the NHL is like a 2-goalie league.
It is,
but you're not gonna put Casey DeSmith out there more than like the usual 20 games that a backup's going to play.
Exactly.
And I feel like Jarry almost does better when he does that classic 60 plus games a year, like regular getting in there and playing games. And so when you put DeSmith out there more than you have to, then you run the risk of even good teams need their goalie to steal a game for them every now and then, and more often than not, DeSmith is not going to do that. Nothing against him, but no.
He's a really. I think he is a solid backup. I think he's. I think you play him 25 games a year. You give Tristan Jarry 27 or 57.
Yeah.
And you go from there. I think 57 games is a lot for a goalie in today's NHL anyway.
That's what he played about last year. He played 56 last year. I don't know.
I think that's a good number.
See, then that's what I was just wondering. It's just like lean on Jarry a little harder this year. I think the cup window's open now. Like, why hold back at this point?
Well, the main concern is overworking your goalies, which
true.
Unfortunately, we had that problem last year. We had both our goalies go down, and we've had that problem year after year after year after year in the playoffs. Even our cup runs, both cup runs, we were dealing with goalie injuries. Fleury going down, Murray going down, Fleury going down. Unfortunately, that's just how the NHL is now. If you don't have a solid backup goalie who's ready to go, who's warmed up, you're going to have problems.
And to be fair, DeSmith's stats make him look better than he is right now, to be honest. He has 3 games started, no wins, 2 losses, 1 overtime losses. His goals against is basically 3, and his save is 9-1-3. But if you watch the one game versus
it's a really
Kraken,
high save percentage for giving up 3 goals.
Yeah, well, he was the game versus the Kraken. He had 2 goals wiped off that, could have went the other way. So really, he would have had another 2 goals on him, and his save percentage at that point is probably 8-7. And he was so far out of the net on those goals. It was just, I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't watch the end of those games. Those versus the Kraken. And I was just like, dude, what are you doing? You're swimming around there, like, just don't go so far out of the net. He's challenging one player who's not like close to the blue paint, but he's at top of the blue paint already out of it. Guy just goes around him. I mean, it's not hard. Yeah, you're wearing pads, bro. Just get in the way.
The shame of it. Shame of it is, the first game I watched this year that he played, I don't remember who they were playing, but I made a mental note of it watching the game because he looked great. I mean, he was fast. He was going side to side really good. He looked quick. And, I had a moment where I was just thinking, if he stays this quick all year, if that's what he worked on in the offseason and just got fast, he could be a great backup for us. But, these other two games, obviously, he's inconsistent. And unfortunately, that's how he's been his entire time with the Penguins.
He started slow last year. I just would like to see him play a little better. I mean, everyone's allowed to be called out. I mean, we signed him to a contract for 2 years. I would love to see these. I mean, if he kept these numbers up, I think we'd be a great team. An underlying thing that I kind of looked at when I was comparing the two goalie stats is that the Pens are averaging on of course they're averaging on average, but they're averaging 35 shots against per game. Like, people are shooting 35, teams are shooting 35 shots on them. Like, that's a lot of rubber coming at your goals. So
that's not okay.
That's probably some of the reason why. And I mean, yes, injuries, of course, but you got to fill in and protect your goaltenders. Like, it's not good to just let them get shelled. Like, that's how I feel like injuries start, is when goalies feel like they have to make every save, and then they start tweaking like muscles and ligaments. Like, I played street goalie enough to be like, oh my god, I shouldn't have tried to make that save. Like, yeah, and that's what worries me. When you say like overworking, I imagine not playing well in front of them is like overworking them. I'm fine if we play Jari 62 games. If he plays better, that's a bonus. Let him sit towards the end. Start him early. Let him rest towards the end. I mean, I'm not a coach, but it seems like a good idea. Like, who knows? I mean, I guess we'll see as the season goes on. But I mean, I think really it's just injuries on our team are showing that like we need to add at the deadline if we're expecting to win another cup. And if that isn't the goal for this year, then I really don't know what the goal is for the Penguins. I don't think we can have any more of these half measures. We kind of said something like signing maybe or getting a trade deadline guy and signing him to a contract. I'd be fine with that if we do that, to maybe match Crosby's contract. A guy we can expect to continually play well until Crosby retires. Ultimately, Letang and Malkin as well.
I mean, there's no doubt the Penguins are just missing something, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need one more big piece, I feel, to really make that push into the playoffs. And I have faith that the management will, do the right thing and go all in, because that's what they have to do.
They have to.
If they want to make this season worth anything, they have to just go all in.
Any of this, these next 3 seasons, man.
If they don't at that trade deadline, it's a complete waste of an off season. Signing Malkin, signing Letang, you might as well just let them walk.
Yeah, it's true.
So hopefully they do the right thing and go big. That's what they got to do, in my opinion.
They
need one more big piece, and if they can get that, I feel pretty confident.
One of the things we were just like messing around is like, if Patrick Kane somehow became a Penguin, like, oh man, that would be sick. Like, I would love to see that. Not gonna happen. Like,
for Schwanke and Dunkel, just last episode, I was saying how my fiance Chelsea's dad used to work security for the Pens, and once every 3 months he comes to me with the most outlandish like trade rumors that never happened. And he said about 2 weeks ago that it's a given that we're going for Patrick Kane. not the deadline, like much before the deadline. Like,
Oh no.
yeah, so he's making it like we're gonna get Patrick Kane like next week, and he just
I don't know.
every single time.
Did he say what we're gonna give up for him, or is he just
No,
saying we're gonna get him?
He never does. He never does. I just kind of
Don't worry about that
shake
part.
my
He's
head
one
at
of
this.
those guys.
Yeah, he used to work security, so he's like friends with a bunch of guys in the Pens organization. And he always uses that as like I know a guy who's talking to this guy who's talking to Hextall in the elevator, and it's a given deal. It's a given deal.
Now, I mean, that being said, I would really be happy with that. I mean,
yeah.
honestly,
Mhm.
I mean that would be fantastic. There's a lot of people who say, "Oh, well, he's got locker room problems and he's got personality issues and stuff like that." I think let me put it this way: I think if the Penguins were to come to Patrick Kane and say, "Hey, we want you on our team, and we think we can win in one more cup with you," he's gonna bust his ass, in my opinion.
I'd agree.
I mean, he's a proven champion. I guarantee you, he wants to win one more. He doesn't want to go out, playing on a bottom seed Chicago Blackhawks team the rest of his career. I think if the Penguins were to go to him and say, "Hey, we got something that could compete," I think he'd go for it. And I don't know what it would take to get him.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Obviously he's got to approve the trade.
Yeah, I was gonna say he has a movement clause, I'm sure.
But
Being a superstar.
it's gonna take a big prospect on our end. It's gonna take a first round pick at least, and it's probably gonna take a solid player already in the system.
Mm-hmm.
I would bet at minimum 2 high picks, a prospect, and a player in the system, which is a ton. But again, if we're going for it, we got to do it.
Hey, if we could sign him to another contract, that'd be sick. I mean, like I said, like extend with the core, that'd be sick. Honestly, I'd love to see it.
If you can shed a little bit of cap, right? If you can just shed just a tiny bit of cap, or if if you can give enough, the Hawks are willing to retain a little bit of that salary. Unlikely, I think, but if you give enough, I think there's a chance. I mean, it's just there's a lot that would have to go into that. I don't know what other teams besides the Penguins.
I said Buffalo last episode because he's from Buffalo.
Going home.
Yeah.
Buffalo could
be the veteran presence on that young team.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Teach these guys how to win. I mean,
do they have like the 11 million for it though?
Yeah, he makes so much money. I mean, the Hawks are definitely going to have to retain something if they do trade him, for sure.
Say we do get Patrick Kane in a hypothetical world. Do we toss him on the first line, or do we keep that line intact and put him with Malkin in the second line?
Well, in this hypothetical world, we might have to trade like Roster Gensel, honestly.
That's also true. So we just take his spot. That's true.
Yeah.
I think you end up playing him with Crosby, and just simply because of his speed. I don't think Malkin can keep up.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. I like Malkin, but man, does he look slow.
Mm.
Not as fast. Hey, he had some knee injuries as well, so I would not expect him to. 35 absolutely. To be as fast. Doesn't look as slow as Dumas.
That's another player making really poor, low IQ plays this season.
Malkin's always been that kind of guy, though. Like, let his anger get the better of him.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Yeah, the unfortunate thing with Malkin is, I mean, he's obviously a fantastic player, but he's made a living off of high danger plays, right? Like that's been his thing. He takes the puck into places where most players would steer completely clear. He drives through, 3 or 4 players. He doesn't care. He just goes through. He forces passes that most players wouldn't make. He's really good at it, and half the time he's going to land that beautiful, perfect pass through like 3 guys' sticks. But the times where it doesn't work, it's just huge turnovers. They go the other way, and then he's the last guy back.
Gotta love him.
Unfortunately, he's just not that player anymore. I think he needs to adapt his game, I just don't know if he's willing to do that. Like you got players like Crosby, obviously, who went through all those injuries that he did, and he completely changed the focus of his game. He went from a fast flying forward like McDavid, making huge big plays on quick quick up and down plays, and now he's more of a grinder. He gets into the corners, he plays those loose pucks, he plays the body in front of the net, he tips pucks in. That's his thing.
Best grinder out there, honestly.
And he completely changed the way he plays and stayed relevant even with all of the injuries he had. Unfortunately, Malkin just hasn't made that transition. I'd really like to see him do that, though.
Yeah, it would be nice for sure. The Pens actually play tonight versus Boston. Some players to watch for Boston: Linus Ullmark. He has a .945 save percentage. Hasn't lost a game yet. Patrice Bergeron turning back the clock. 4 goals, 5 assists. And Pasa has 17 points, and I think that makes him number 2 in the league for points right now. I have a list somewhere. He's number 2, I think. So, pretty legit team, hot team. We'll see what the Penguins do tonight. They play at 8 o'clock on ESPN, so 30 minutes from now, from when we're recording. I'm probably going to tune in. Like I said, I'm probably going to have the Islanders on the other screen, but definitely will be watching those.
I'll definitely be watching. Like I said,
Definitely.
Boston I don't think's really been tested this season. So if the Penguins give them a good, hard, competitive game, I think this could be telling. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm definitely going to watch. And that kind of, I think, will conclude our hockey talk here. But I wanted to move on to another hockey subject. It's the hockey pop culture. I'll just say a few things, and we can go into our reverse retro ranking, since I think that's pretty fun. I definitely mentioned it before. McDavid's almost at 500 games played. Right now, he's at 715 points in 496, maybe
Absurd.
a little bit more. That's 1.44 points per game average, and that's number 4 all time and highest for active players. There are 3 players that I can just think of off the top of my head. Do you guys know who have a little bit lower points per game than him that are active?
Crosby, obviously, and Malkin.
Crosby's number 7, 1.27. There's someone who else is on the Penguins. Malkin is number 11 at 1.17. And this next guy kind of surprised me is Artemi Panarin. He's at 1.12. And he's probably like 17th all time for points per game. He's only played like 500 games, but also is like, wow, like I didn't realize Panarin was that good. Like
he's been really good in the time he's been in the league. He came in at what, 26?
Too. Yeah, he was pretty old. And he's been playing with great players like Patrick Kane. I guess he also did play for Columbus, and no one's really that good at Columbus. But Rangers, he's been making it up for sure with Zibanejad and everyone. I did want to touch one more thing on McDavid's, just like his legacy. Like he needs to win cups, right, to be considered to be one of the all-time greats. At this point in Sid's career, I don't remember if they at least were challenging for cups.
I'm pretty sure at this point they either lost to the Red Wings or the year we won. Like is one of those 2 years.
Because I think it's
Sid won a cup
year.
It would have been
2010, 4 years.
Right? 2009, yeah.
4 years into the league, so I mean that's definitely past McDavid's at 500 games played basically, and he was injured his rookie year, so it's just like, I mean, he's obviously one of the best scorers of all time, without a doubt, one of the best offensive players. But do you need to win cups to be a Hall of Fame player? I mean, it's hard to say.
Not when you're Connor McDavid. No, he is a lock. I'd
say just based off the offensive talent, you're probably correct. I think in a normal circumstance, most people, you need to have hardware. A lot of individual, at least, hardware. He has the individual hardware, which I think would push him in. I mean, like, what? He's like 3 Hart trophies or some shit already, and he's been in the league for 5 years. Like, the dude.
He's been in longer than that. Time is flying, David.
I know. 5-6 years. Like, I was surprised to see he's at 500 games played. I'm like, holy shit! I thought he was still a rookie. Like, Yeah, but my other two tidbit points of like just hockey pop culture here. The Senators were up for sale. I mentioned that earlier. They're evaluated at like $655 million. This is 7 months post death of Eugene Melnyk. His daughters own the team. Apparently, they've been really sorting out a lot of like firms to help them make this sale. Interested to see what the team will go. Like we did mention earlier, they were one of the lower teams that fill the stadiums, lower populated teams. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Lower capacity, I don't know. But they do not fill the stadium. So maybe this next owner will address that. I feel like that's been a problem forever. Before Melnyk's death, I do remember a fire Melnyk at one point. That's probably after the Pens bounced them.
Yeah, their big problem's been location. They're similar to Arizona, where they just have a terrible arena location.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they just, I'm reading it right now, they got land in downtown Ottawa.
That's good.
So,
Currently
putting...
like 40 minutes outside of Ottawa or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's like in the middle of nowhere, which never helps.
It's just, like I don't want to go to Cranberry to go hockey. I'd rather go to the city, to the center point, and I don't blame them. Another just little tidbit is Devin Dubnyk officially retired. I think he played 13 years in the NHL. He very good. Not Hall of Fame, I'd say. I mean, I liked him as a kid, and did he play for the Sharks? No, he didn't play for the Sharks.
No, Dubnyk very briefly did. Very briefly.
Did he play during the Cup run? I'm trying to remember. It was Martin Jones, I thought, actually.
Martin Jones during the Cup run. Dubnyk played like his last, I don't know. He was twilight years he played there. Yeah,
and he just always an average player, but stuck around for a real long time. So, I mean, shout out. Good career, fun career. And I think we should just finish this off with the reverse retro power rankings. I think that's pretty fun subject. I ranked them 1 for 32. I mean, honestly, they're kind of just into 4 categories on my list. I judge them in a pretty simple way. I mean, the look, does it look good?
Do you like how
I wear it? Yeah. The second is the representation of reverse retro. I mean, why call it that if you're not going to do a retro jersey in reverse colors, right? My third category is, would I want my team to wear it? And yeah, that was the 3 categories, actually. I don't have a fourth one, but yeah. So I don't know, Dunkel, you are the one that has the real eye for design. Do you want to list off maybe some of the best ones? We can go.
Can I share my screen? Does that work, Lord Ryan?
Does that work?
I think it should. Do you see it on your screen?
We're about to. Let's try it.
Yeah, if you see it on the share screen in the bottom, it should work. I don't know if it translates to video, but I'm pretty sure it does.
Oh,
you guys see that?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I see that.
All right. So yeah, I got 5 tiers here. I got perfect or damn close. Needs tweaked. Could have been great. Boring, but people will still buy them anyway. And dog water.
Okay, your list is way better than mine. I like this.
I like the categories for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree with this top list. I think the top part.
I agree with a lot of it too. I don't know what's.
So yeah, Dunkel, take us through something here.
Yeah.
What ones do you like the most? I mean,
well, the Penguins had the easiest job out of everybody here, right? I mean, they simple, and I'm surprised they didn't do it sooner. It was the easiest job they possibly could have had. They couldn't have fucked it up.
That's like my favorite logo of the Pens.
Yeah, me too, dude. It is so sick.
That's by far my favorite.
So sick.
Florida's is bold. I love color. I'm all about it.
I want to see like the sets of these teams as well. Like, are they wearing just their normal pants, or are they wearing reverse retro pants? Like,
they'll have full uniforms.
It's just like it takes away a little bit. Like, I feel like some teams could look better or worse depending on how that full kit looks.
Yeah.
I still think Florida will look sweet. Florida's like my second team. I love these unis as well. Dunkel.
Oh, they're very Miami, and I'm like I said, I'm all about color. Vancouver, great throwback look.
Mhm.
I love old
Mhm.
throwback looking jerseys. Clean, simple.
I like the
LA,
colors on that too.
LA just needs to go back to purple and yellow full time.
Mhm.
So this
Uh,
is my one, I think, major disagreement on this list so far, is that I just felt like that was in the uninspired area, kind of like the boring, but people buy them. It's just because like
Sure.
how like I feel like this jersey's been done, and like I don't know, the whole reverse retro thing. This is where I kind of got like confused. Like, what part of this is reversed, or like it's a retro jersey with white?
Yeah.
Did that what makes it reversed? Should it be purple or yellow? Like I just don't.
Well,
It
their
didn't really
originals,
hit
if I
right to
remember
me.
correctly, were a purple primary and a yellow secondary. I don't know if they had a
Yeah.
white jersey.
Okay.
I
Well,
think
that
that
makes
is
more
right.
sense. I would bump it up more so, but it just like it felt uninspired, and I do think it's a sick
Yeah,
jersey, and
I
I'd
can
buy
see
it.
that.
So I'd wear it.
I think the main reason I like it is I love that old crown logo,
Mhm.
and I just really love the forum blue and the gold. I don't know why they don't still have that color scheme. I don't know why more teams don't
Black
use
and
purple.
white is so boring on their current
Mhm.
uniform. It's
Yeah,
just
let's
or
go
the
black, white,
silver.
and silver. How cool!
Yeah, like that's not
Um,
royalty colors. If you're the Kings, just putting it out there.
I liked it when they were purple and black back in the day with the Los Angeles across the bottom. It
purple,
might
black,
not
and
look the
silver.
best, but
Yeah.
I thought it looked cool.
I agree actually. Like I remember one of my earliest memories of a hockey video game is like NHL 2001, and I always would
Mhm.
pick them because they had sick uniforms. And Rob
Mhm.
Blake.
Rob
It
Blake.
Robitaille. Yeah, I was like, oh man.
Mhm.
Little did I know.
Um,
But yeah, go ahead, continue. Sorry.
love Calgary's jersey. It's something a little different. I actually did a concept very similar to this. I just didn't have the bottom stripe.
I stole it.
Um,
That's what you say.
I think it's a great. It's just a good
Mhm.
look. I like it a lot. I think it's something different. It's unique. And it's bright, which I also
Mhm.
really like. I don't like black jerseys that don't have some bright elements. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 Contrast.
Exactly.
Needs tweaked. I like that St. Louis went full throwback.
Mm. This
I
is my
like
biggest
having.
disagreement.
I like
I think
this one.
I think the stripes need changed. You
Yeah,
know,
the
like
stripes look weird.
that's my main thing. I would tweak the stripes, make them thicker. Um, like I said, I like throwbacks like this. It's obviously not something I'd want full time,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I think it's a fun throwback. It's the same thing with Boston, right? Like Boston, I don't like this logo at all,
Oh
but
man.
you know, it's
You're
history.
pissing off me
Boston
and
likes this
Schwanke here.
stuff. Um,
I love
I
that.
wish
I
there was a
love
little bit
this
more
one.
The
gold on
teddy
the
bear.
jersey.
I think it's sick. I think this one looks so cool. I
I
just
just
like the
think
bear. I
I
don't
think it
know.
needs more gold on it. I think gold numbers would have helped it a lot. Um, Sharks again, it's a throwback. It is what it's supposed to be. I would probably just tweak the pattern a little bit
Yeah, I see.
to
I'd
not
do
be
that.
so ridiculous.
That could have been so much cooler. Like it really could have been.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's meant to look like the Oakland Seals or the
Mhm.
California Golden Seals
Golden
It's
or
Seals,
whatever.
it
yeah.
fulfills its purpose.
Yeah.
I think it could have been done a little better. Washington needs more blue.
I think that's one of the best
Um,
ones, honestly.
I love that one.
Maybe
I always
not
love
so
that logo.
reverse. Actually, it was a white uniform, so it is, I guess, reverse.
yeah,
Mhm.
I just think that one
it
looks
needs to be
They
sick.
had a
blue.
blue one
It's
too.
it's more blue anyway.
I also
Yeah.
think the
Um,
history behind that uniform is like OV kind of coming to the league, which makes it even
Mhm.
cooler. That was another thing, actually. That was probably my fourth thing that I had at one point. Is like the history behind it. Kind of cool, I think.
Yeah,
I always hated
I
that.
really like that Capitals logo. I wish they'd go
Yeah,
back to
me
it.
too.
I was literally about to say I actually hate that logo.
You don't
Really.
like it?
Well,
I don't.
mean-
I don't know why. It just
Cap-
seems very like.
I mean, compare it to literally having the word capitals written on your jersey.
Yeah,
and
that
like
one's
the
not great either.
Just
sweat
awful.
either,
Yeah,
ever.
That
their
one's not
current
great
one
either. I
sucks.
just don't like
Yeah.
the eagle, like the way the eagle looks.
I
know.
like the.
I-
I do really like their current eagle. They just don't use it at all.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that eagle's way better in my opinion, but I'm
Mhm.
obviously outnumbered here.
They both have their merits for sure.
I liked Dallas's. I just think the striping on the bottom needs to match the striping on the sleeves.
Yeah, same. I like them. Unimpressive. I like Vegas's a lot, to be honest. More, I've started to grow on them. I liked their red one they had, and I think it might be like a playoff of that one. Their red ones are so slick. I kind of wish they would have brought something back for that.
I like this jersey. I like the idea behind it. I think it needs a different font. I think that font looks like shit.
It does look weird.
Islanders could have been great if they had put some fucking teal on that.
Yep.
It's just boring. It's really boring. They turned a really cool, weird jersey into something really bland and dumb. Montreal needs a little bit more red. They literally swapped one color and said, "Hey, it's done."
I kind of hate Colorado's. I put that in my miss category.
Colorado, so
it looks like a shittier version of Columbus, honestly. Like
I wanted a full blown Rockies throwback. They should have just went with the Rockies jersey pattern and just done a full Rockies throwback.
Yep.
Ducks, just the wrong colors.
Yeah, it's just boring.
Yeah. But
if got the wrong colors on there, that's all.
If they insist on keeping these colors, then I would love to see that be like the primary jersey they wear, just permanently. Because dear God, they have the worst uniforms in the league right now.
There's so much going on.
Not even close, really.
There's just too much going on. They have 5 fucking colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too many colors.
Yeah, they do.
It is too many.
The Jets need to ditch the two-tone blue. They look so much better in red, white, and blue.
Agreed. I like the Devils one, personally.
I liked the Devils. I just wish they would have went with a full-blown Chiefs.
Full KC Scouts.
Yeah.
Rangers did the same thing as last year.
Rangers have that jersey every year. Like I don't even know how it's reverse retro.
Rangers did the exact same jersey as last year.
I've always loved that logo, though.
It's a cool logo. It's just like boring. Like I don't know. It's not reverse retro. Like
they just put it in the normal Rangers colors. They took it from the dark blue and made it the normal Ranger blue, pretty much.
Wow, they're wild this year.
Yeah.
Columbus needs to get over themselves and rebrand to the Cannon because their logo that they rebranded to sucks.
Dude, my criticism was put the fucking Cannon on, and that thing is sick. That is a sick jersey.
I don't know. I like that logo that they got there with the flag and everything, but
it looks so odd with like it's this reverse retro, and then it's like here's this modern thing that we have, and it doesn't.
I mean, it's better than their first logo with the streamer thing going around. That was horrible. And the bug wearing the Civil War hat was like the dumbest logo I've ever seen.
That doesn't really
Speaking of dumb logos,
Meth Predators.
Yeah.
The Meth Tiger.
No. That one's just boring. I don't like the Nashville at the top, like real small like that. Makes it look like it wants to be a football jersey, but it's not.
They do though. That is the thing. Like they wish they were a football team.
I don't know what Nashville has against their skull logo, which is dope, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean that's why they're called the Predators. They discovered a freaking saber-toothed tiger while digging out to build the arena. Like play off of that.
The skull logo is sweet. I don't know why they won't use it. I think they should use it more often. I think it's really cool.
I actually did not know that fun fact, Schwanke.
That's a good fact.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Further along, like down, at least I just like have to say about them. Like, my major gripe is that you have two of my favorite jerseys in the dog water, which is Tampa.
Well, I'm guessing it's these two, right?
Tampa and
No, I'm sorry.
Well,
look,
you like the gimmick jerseys. I fucking hate them.
I think
I'll wait till I give my list to say what I want about that.
I like their stuff there. I think that both of those are good.
Let me put it this way. The only reason they're in dog water is because I personally don't like them. That being said, people are going to buy the fuck out of these.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
sure.
my only problem with Arizona is it's the same jersey as last year.
That's all right. They made it better. They made it look less stupid,
the thing
less
for
purple.
the thing for me is
Is it the same
last
thing?
time.
Last year I didn't like it.
Well, last time with the purple, it was like the desert at nighttime. Now with the orange, it's like the desert in the daytime.
I guess, yeah.
There.
I thought the
never
same
about
thing
it
when
like
I
that.
first saw it. I was like, it's the same thing, but it's grown on me the more I've looked at it. I kind of like the colors. It really feels like
I like the
Arizona.
colors more.
I think it feels Arizona is why. Is exactly. And just we're almost at like 2 hours, so I don't want to make this a super long pod. So if you have any other ones that you want to point out, let's throw Schwanks on, and we can end after.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, my last thing I want to bring up is Detroit needs to fucking try one of these days. They're really starting to piss me off.
Yeah, they're just really ugly jerseys. Like, I wouldn't want my team to wear it. I think they missed whatever they went for. Why not?
What they went for was Chicago.
Yeah, they copied Chicago. Oh shit!
I don't know.
Was due today.
Detroit has a lot of history to pull from, and it bothers me that the franchise could give two flying fucks.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, all right, yeah. I'm not going to dwell on this.
On real quick too before Schwank does his was Seattle. I like Seattle that as like an alternative jersey, but looking back at like the Seattle Metropolitans, which is the team a long time ago there, you could definitely play a reverse retro off one of those and make it way better. Like I like this jersey, just not for a reverse retro. You should play off of the Metropolitans and then use that as an alternate.
I think they should have just done the Metropolitans jersey in the Seattle Kraken colors, and it would have been great.
Yeah, that's.
I think that's what they kind of tried to do, and they just didn't do a very good job at it.
Yeah, they've been missing on these retro things for.
Got like the whole.
That's the one.
Okay. Wow, that is ridiculous looking. It's like a Christmas sweater. That's like an actual sweater.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
But in the Kraken colors, I think that would be pretty.
That'd be really
sick. Yeah. All right, let me bring up
Frank, so let's go over yours and then
real
finish
quick.
Up there. And I appreciate having you guys on. You guys have been good guests. Talking to us.
I'm always down to talk hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we see it.
All right, so I'll just start bottom to top and some big differences here. So with St. Louis, that's a prototype logo from 1967, and there's a reason it was a prototype. the logo looks like it belongs on the front of like a psychedelic blues rock album from 1967.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
With Tampa Bay, I liked the original. I liked the blue version, but for some reason, the white version, it looks like a roller hockey jersey to me. And inline hockey has the worst jerseys you'll ever see in your life. Chicago and Detroit, I see what they tried to do. It's terrible. The fonts are like the first font you pull up when you open Microsoft Word. Ottawa, I never liked the original version of that jersey. I don't like the black version. I love that logo. I'm very glad they brought it back.
I love that logo too.
The Hurricanes piss me off uniform-wise because they went from having one of the best looks in the entire league with the storm warning flag across the bottom and everything, and now they wear that terrible black jersey as their home jersey. And then the problem I have with this jersey and their road jersey both is that stupid canes across the front. I can't stand it when teams do that. When they do canes, when the Lightning did bolts, when the Senators did sends. If the Penguins ever put pens across the front of their jersey, I'm burning one out next to the Mario same thing with Kansas City. I wish they had gone Kansas City with the Devils there, but they didn't. I feel like Toronto has put out slightly different versions of the same jersey every 2 years since I was a child. Montreal, I think this is supposed to go back to the Montreal Expos, which is the team that their mascot Yuppie originally was for, but reverse. This is about your team's history, not a baseball team's history. Minnesota Wild, let's just put the Wild logo on a North Stars jersey. You know, who's going to notice? Philadelphia is really boring. I only put him in the C tier because they're bringing back the long pants for the warm-ups, and that takes a lot of balls, I think. Winnipeg, same thing. The double blue is boring. Columbus, I I kind of like it because I think the lighter blue is supposed to be kind of like the jackets that they're named after, that the U.S. wore in the Civil War, but I could
Yes.
be wrong about that.
No, you're 100% right.
Which I think they should have leaned into more this entire time. Why not look
They
like
were
the
originally
logo?
supposed to be baby blue and navy blue as their primary color scheme, and then they got turned in the red, white, and blue.
Which I
I
guess
don't
is
remember
because
what
of
the reasoning was.
I guess the Ohio flag or something. I don't know.
I think it was
Maybe,
that, and I
yeah.
think the owner was
People in
like a
Ohio love their flag. Every
patriot.
time I go there, I see it everywhere. Seattle, I moved
So
further
dumb.
up. Buffalo, I love the goat head logo. It's could have been better, but whatever.
Simple. Okay.
Florida, I love how it represents Florida, the sunshine and everything. Rangers, I just like the jersey. Same with Calgary and these other guys here. I totally agree with the Islanders. They brought back Gorton's Fisherman. They brought back the wavy lines and the wavy font and everything, and still somehow managed to make all of that look really boring. San Jose, I think it'd be cool to put like the Sharks logo on the front of that. That alone might make it look a little better. I don't know. I actually really like Edmonton's. Um, I like the darker colors. I always like the little
oil
oil
gear.
gear drop logo there. A lot of people didn't like it, and I understand why, but I
Reminds
like
me
it.
of like an anime or something. That's why it's just like
Mhm.
it's almost jarring to see on a hockey uniform.
It's not what you're used to when you think of the
Cartoonish,
Oilers and the
maybe.
classic logo
Yeah.
with the Oilers across the front and everything. And a lot of agreement here with the top jerseys. I've always loved
Hmm.
that Washington jersey there. I love the Vancouver. I love the colors. I love the Johnny Canuck logo. I could do without the numbers on the front, but whatever. And the Vegas one, the thing about the Vegas one, you're never going to see it in an actual NHL game, but the fact that it glows in the dark is the most Las Vegas thing ever. And
Sure.
it keeps me from putting it in the A tier, which is where I wanted to put it because it looks like a Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins alternate uniform.
Oh,
And
yeah.
once I realized that, I couldn't unsee it.
Wow, you might have just ruined that jersey for me as well.
Just
It
turn the
really
lights
is.
off and see the glowing colors instead. And I like the teddy bear logo for
I love it.
Boston. I can totally understand why people don't like it. You don't really want a ton of intricate detail in logos. You want it to be easy to reproduce and all that stuff. But
Hmm.
um, I like it. So yeah, that's just a quick run through of
Yeah.
how I felt about all those jerseys. And of course, the Penguins they finally brought back. And just one point about that logo, we're all in agreement that we love that logo. I don't think people realize how much of Penguins history is represented in that logo. The best Penguins team of all time, the 92-93 team, was the first team to wear that logo. The prime
And then
years of
dog water teams ever
yeah,
since then.
well, in the 90s, they were great. And you had the prime years of Yager's career. You had the prime years of Mario's career. And then if you look at photos of Evgeny Malkin when he got drafted in his rookie year, or Sidney Crosby when he got drafted in his first 2 seasons, what logo is on their shoulder? That
Yeah,
logo.
yeah.
So a lot of people hated it when it first came out in the early 90s. They're like, we just won the cups back to back. This new ownership group comes in, changes how the team looks entirely. We don't like it. It's 1992. We're not used to seeing these modern logos and stuff like that. I'm going to say something a little controversial here. I don't think the skating penguin is
Oh,
the
there it is.
greatest logo
Yeah,
ever. It's
I don't.
it. I
I don't
mean,
think
I
it's the
like
greatest ever.
so
I
I agree with you. The skating penguin is kind of, it's not my favorite either.
mhm,
But the old skating penguin from the 90s was badass. I wish they would
mhm,
just bring that penguin back.
yeah,
It's just a little different. It looks older, it looks
mhm,
meaner.
it does. Yeah,
It's a
I
better
know
logo.
exactly what you're
Hmm.
talking about. Yeah. The nitpicky thing about the Penguins my goodness, reverse retro that I hope they don't do that they did with their third jersey right now. I want them to bring back just the plain black pants because the current pants with the thick stripe on the side just makes the whole uniform as a whole look a little bit too busy. I think if they just went with the plain black pants, it would look better. But
I agree with
that's
you completely.
Yeah, I like it.
it's a small complaint, but I'm just happy they brought back the Robo Penguin, and I wish they put it on the third jersey.
I was gonna say, I think we all are at this point. Like I think it's one
A
of my
little
favorites
tidbit
of all time.
of information. The reason, I'm pretty sure anyway, I've heard this many times. I guess the reason that the Penguins ditched the Robo Penguin and never went back is Lemieux's super superstitious, and he blamed that Robo Penguin logo for the Penguins' loss in '93.
I remember hearing that he didn't like that logo. I didn't know that was the reason why. I thought he just didn't like how it looked, but that actually makes a ton of sense.
I'm pretty sure he thinks it's cursed, which is, that totally
Well,
tracks.
if they lose every game in this jersey, he's going to use whatever influence he still has to get that jersey
100%.
taken away.
Yeah, they'll never wear it again.
No.
If Crosby gets another concussion with this,
Oh my god.
Oh god, like
Don't put that evil out there.
that dark blue jersey from 2011. I hated that one too, honestly.
I don't think the Penguins will ever wear blue again.
I hope
As long
not.
as Crosby's playing anyway.
Good question.
I hope not. I didn't like that trend. I mean, the light blue ones looked good, but it when you went to Mellon Arena and then Consol Energy Center for a while there, you didn't know what team was playing because you saw blue everywhere.
That's funny. Well, I mean, hey, that pretty much wraps it up, guys. I appreciate having you guys on. I'm not gonna pop out my tier list because honestly, I kind of just gave it as talking to you guys. But I appreciate the hard work you guys put in. Definitely have you back on here.
For sure. Yeah, it was a great time.
I was glad to do it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and maybe we can collaborate a little bit on some kind of subject we can, all talk about or something. We can figure something out.
Sure.
Absolutely.
You got anything for us, Ryan?
No, just thanks for coming on, guys.
Yeah.
No problem. Like I said, thanks for having us. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, and thanks to anyone who might be still listening to us babble. We appreciate you as well. Have a good day, and I mean the Pens are about to start, so let's go Pens.
All right.
Let's go Pens.
Let's
Woo!
go.
All right,
Go Pens.
Let's go Pens. Yeah, let's go.
Ian's ready.
Yeah.
Boston Bruins in it.